the same time then, sobrang grabe yung uncertainty ngayon ano, sa mga hinaharap nating lahat. Ano, not just in the Philippines, but all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, just kanina lang the Prime Minister of Poland said that they're looking at getting their own nuclear weapons. The South Koreans are also talking openly about developing their own nuclear weapons. I mean, these are nuclear weapon threshold states, no? They're a few screwdrivers away. So thanks to our good friend Donald, to our MAGA
Yeah.
friends, the world is unrolling in many different
You know,
directions. Yeah.
pero alam mo, di ba, Richard, like, I think you know naman that I am fairly in the middle when it comes to this. I like some of the policies Trump is doing. There are some policies I don't like. Pero in this case, with the way he's handling the Ukraine war, I absolutely disagree with it. At saka dahil din sa ginagawa niya, nakikita mo na nagkakaroon talaga ng, yun na nga, yung New World Order. At nagulat ako because even in Europe, there are going to be, it seems like two types of Europe na nagko-coalition right now. 'Di ba? Yung isang Europe is siding with Trump and then the other half of Europe is siding with Ukraine. It's gonna be really interesting what's gonna happen and what I'm worried about is baka lalo pong magkagera dahil dito.
Yeah, I mean, I called it the brave new world disorder.
Grabe,
So they're
brave
all
new world.
disorder talaga. No? Let's see. I mean, we all want to be somewhere in the middle, right? Except the middle is shifting. Interesting. There was a survey that came out in the Financial Times that look at the values alignment of, for instance, MAGA Republicans. And ang lumabas dyan is actually MAGA Republicans are much closer in terms of their value systems and ideology to Russians and Turks, right? Particularly
Yeah.
those ones who are supporting Erdogan and Putin, than even far-right parties, including supporters of Giorgia Meloni, among others, in Europe. So, sobrang lumalayo na yung Republican conservatism. So, when you're talking about the middle has shifted in the US. So,
Yeah.
maybe your middle applies to Europe well, but or Japan, I don't know. But pagdating sa US, the middle has shifted way to the right now. So, compared to their peers, now the MAGA Republicans are way to the right. They could easily pass off as far right by European
Yeah.
standards. So that's the kind of world we're living. That even the very nature and character of the Republican Party, that now the party of global power, essentially, is
Yeah.
shifting. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're all trying to be fair. Of course, a part of me saying, "Sana, there's a method, the madness, maybe in the end." Because Putin offered to also broker a deal with Iran. Sabi niya, okay, I'll help you, Trump. You talk to Iran, you cut a nuclear deal, then you help me on Ukraine. We'll basically, the Caesars will work it out together. I mean, of course, we're all for peace. We want no conflict in Middle East, Ukraine. But when you look at what are the things that are happening in terms of the broader alignments, yung unintended consequences. That's one thing people have to understand. There's the law of unintended consequence. It's not what Trump wants per se, but how others could react because of fear, because
Yes.
of concerns. And as we see, fear is really, really the driving force. And the last thing I want to add on this, because I want to go to major domestic politics before going back to international politics. As of now, there are discussions about the Mar-a-Lago Accord, a potential grand bargain deal between U.S., China, Russia, kind of a Yalta 2.0. But I'll tell you, bro, since andyan ka, what the heck? The Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency world is a mess. Every night
It
you
is.
put 1,000 pesos, you lose 400 pesos the next
Yeah.
morning. I mean, it's bad, bro. It's bad.
Yeah. So just to calm your nerves a little bit, or maybe to make you know what's going on. As a matter of fact, the Trump tariffs and the trade wars he's conducting, yun na nagbabagsak ng presyo ngayon ng crypto at lahat ng mga risk-on assets, including stocks, other speculative assets, including certain commodities. Lahat yan, babagsak yan. And honestly, I really think a recession is looming. And because of that, I think we've already seen the high of $109,000 per Bitcoin, and ngayon mukhang pababa na to. Hold on tight, and if I were you, pag bumaba yung presyo, buy more. Because it could go down to as low as mga $70,000, and that's a good time to buy already.
Wait, how? I thought you were gonna reassure me. Like a second.
Unfortunately
The
not.
bottom is falling, brother. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it is.
Yeah.
Malala to. Ako na, may mga iba akong kaibigan na they literally took profit na and they said dahil nga sobrang uncertain si Trump, ang gulo niya talaga eh. They call it the Trump chaos. It's so confusing. Kaya because of that, the financial market does not like any kind of uncertainty. Kaya uncertainty will lead to market prices falling and it will lead to global recession. This is it. Baka mag-recession na tayo. This is going to be a really bad one too.
Yeah, I mean, just to tell you, even by Trump standards, this is crazy. I mean, Trump imposed tariffs on Mexico the other day because of the fentanyl issue. The next thing you know, suddenly he lifted the tariffs like
Yep.
within days. I mean, come on, that's crazy. With Canada the other month and now bring it back. So it's not Trump disruption. It's like even by Trump standards, this is too much of chaos, right? And then you have
Oh,
the Elon Musk factor. I don't know if you saw the news. Elon
oh
Musk
yeah.
had a shouting match apparently with Marco Rubio. The other
Yep.
day, it got crazy, it got ugly, and Marco Rubio said, who are you? Parang, it's none of your business what I did, because Elon Musk was
Yep.
saying you're not firing enough people. So like Marco Rubio joke, why not rehire the people you fired from my office and then fire them again so that your numbers look good, sarcastically. And then Elon Musk got pissed off and say, last time I checked, I'm the one running multi-billion businesses that are successful and all. And then like Trump had to come in and say, okay, okay, you know, Rubio is under pressure, be nice to him. Elon is a great businessman. It's crazy, bro. I mean, I honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think adults are running the show nowadays, and this is really troubling. So yeah, I think we have to be really ready for a lot of uncertainty. But speaking of uncertainty, as Filipinos, we're not strangers to that. So marami tayong
No.
pag-usapan today. Of course, first of all, just update lang, ayon kay Attorney Claire Castro na kasama natin the other day, and last week, kind of based on other conversation, mukhang si Harry Roque is increasingly within our area of responsibility. Nasa Macau na daw siya, bro. I mean,
Wow.
if this were a typhoon, it's almost within our area. Ma-detect na siya ng pag-asa. I want to ask you this because you know the whole Pogo, casino, gambling world very well. Of course, as an observer, brother. I don't. You tell me, what is the relevance of him potentially being in Macau per the undersecretary essentially for PCO of Malacanang right now, which was also confirmed by other contacts I reached
Yeah,
out
well,
to.
yeah, well, the biggest problem with in terms of apprehending him is the fact that he is in Macau. It's a Chinese territory, and nakaalam naman natin that Harry Roque and Duterte family are very
Ma,
close
can
to
I
the
ask for my
Chinese
other phone?
authorities.
Yung
At
purple
I
sa room,
wouldn't be
please.
surprised kung napoprotektahan siya ngayon doon at nabibigyan siya ng some sort of a unofficial asylum in Macau. Kaya matapang siya at malakas ang loob niya pumunta doon. Kasi alam niya, but with the contacts they have in China and with the Chinese government,
Thank
baka
you.
nga hindi natin siya ma-extradite dito sa Pilipinas. Yun ang nakikita kong posibilidad kung bakit na napili niyang
Okay na
Macau,
to.
which is very close, close enough to the Philippines, but far enough from the hands of the authorities. So, in that sense, that becomes problematic because nakikita mo nga nung huling Senate hearing,
Right.
where Reese Ontiveros followed up with the Bureau of Immigration, di ba? Tapos tinanong niyo sa Bureau of Immigration, ito na, ilang buwan na nakaraan. Kumusta? Alam na ba niyo kung paano nakalabas si Alice Go last year at nakatakas nung time na yon na hinuhuli natin siya? Wala pa ring sagot daw hanggang
Yeah.
ngayon. Here's the excuse that the Bureau of Immigration gave. Sabi nila, ma'am, kasi ang trabaho ng immigration is just to deport the criminal. Okay? Pag-deport the unwanted foreigner, yung unwanted dayuhan natin, de-deport lang. Pero kung saan mapunta, hindi na daw lang problema yon. Basta ang according to the law, apparently,
Right.
ito yung gusto ko nga basahin na hindi ko pa nababasa eh. Totoo ba na basta makalabas sa Pilipinas, wala na silang pake? Which sounds weird because in that case, then in essence, yung mga criminal na gumagawa ng mga criminal activities dito sa Pilipinas can essentially escape with the help of the government.
Right.
That's what it sounds like, and that's where it becomes problematic. I would rather they face jail time here in the Philippines than having to deport them. Kasi yun nga yung nangyari. Yung tatlong big bosses sa mga Pogos na ide-deport dahil papahuli sa China, apparently hindi nila alam kung nakarating nga ng China o hindi. Either there are two things lang dito sa ating Bureau of Immigrations and very typical of Philippine government. They're either really stupid, okay, incompetent, or they're complicit. Meaning, baka nabayaran sila. Yun lang yun eh. So pumili ka na, which one? Complicit ka ba? O kaya you're incompetent? Only one of the two applies.
Or maybe, bro, I'm gonna be like MAGA. There's a method to the baka naman this is an entrapment that Harry is being, like no, but him being in Macau means it's easier for him to coordinate with our good friends, right? Kasi yung mga Pogo people based here, I'm sure they have tentacles in Hong Kong, in Macau, Singapore, right? I mean, it's that kind of
Yeah,
let's call it the bamboo network, right?
sure. Um, yeah, sorry, did I lose you or what
No, no,
happened?
I'm listening, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely, you're right. Sa Macau pa naman, marami ding mga criminal activities doon. Maraming a lot of the operators that were here are probably back in Macau. I wouldn't be surprised. Maraming connections si Harry Roque with regards to the Pogos and a lot of the criminal activity. It's very easy for him to be able to hide. But the thing is, alam mo pinakamahirap talaga sa ginagawa niya. You're still a fugitive. Oh my God, a fugitive without a country, without a home. You're literally para kang refugee sa ibang bansa na nagtatago na lang at whatever, you know.
Chris,
It's
bro, don't
difficult.
do that. Iyak ako, Pars. You're breaking my heart for Harry. I'm
Naaawa
sure
talaga para
Harry
kay
is
Harry.
alone now. He's missing people that he should miss. Um, um, I'm sure he's not in a five-star hotel. I'm sure,
Yeah.
like...
Wala yung EA niya, you know, yeah.
Para pansin ko sa atin ganito lang, of all my collaborators, ikaw yung pinaka-sympathetic kay Harry Roque.
You call that sympathetic?
No, I mean like, ikaw lang parang maawa ka naman sa kanya, he's a fugitive. Lahat ng iba, walang yan, si ano nga,
Well,
tinanong.
no,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't even think it's sympathy. Honestly, the way I see it, Harry Roque, I really am enjoying seeing Harry Roque squirm and hide. Dahil naman sobrang lala nung ginawa niya talaga at kay
Yeah.
Delima. Man, wala ka talagang puso, no? To even say the things he said to
100%.
Delima. Talagang grabe, anong klaseng tao ka talaga. It really shows how low that this person, it's even an insult to people when you call him a person, can go. Kaya
Okay,
nga, a lot
now
of the
bumabawi
backlash
ka na,
he's
bro.
getting is too bad.
Wait. Bro. Malapit na mo siyang tawagin it. Okay, wag na tayo pumunta dyan. Kasi hindi siya person. No, I mean, let's not go there. I want to say it's
Yeah.
Women's Month, pero wala namang kinalaman sa kanya. But, no, going back to this, bro. The thing kasi is, I was asking General Torre last week about this. Sabi ko, paano yan? Kasi yung dream situation niya, di ba, is this Congress will run out, maging mutan academic yung show cause order, and then he's gonna come back and he's gonna become the chief counsel defender of Sara Duterte in the impeachment trial. Parang yun yung dream scenario siguro niya, no? Sabi ni Torre, hindi, kailangan lang namin warrant of arrest. Kung may kaso talaga sa kanya, marami siyang sabit, arestuin namin yan, regardless whether it's 20th Congress or 200th Congress. Hindi ubra yung mga ganyan sa kanya. So, I still want to see more clarity on that. Kasi to be honest, I'm talking to different people from senior positions. Mukhang I think it's still a political decision that has to be made. Kasi given, I mean, for everything we can say about Harry Roque, mukhang is important enough, no, that he could be essentially a gateway to many things in terms of, I mean in terms of information on even bigger fishes, right? And given his
Yeah.
proximity to the Dutertes, I don't know, maybe we are still waiting for some political decision to be made. Kaya wala pa rin ako nakuhang matinong sagot sa totoo lang sa mga top officials. Basta ang position lang nila, if talagang may basis talaga, we're gonna take care of him. Kasi ako bro, kung ikaw ay naawa kay Harry Roque, ako naawa kay Panelo. Because Panelo feels finally he's having his moment. 'Di ba? For a long time.
Kanino?
Si Panelo. Salvador Panelo.
Oh, what about him?
You don't know, like, yung
Yeah, what about him?
Di ba may rivalry sila? Di ba spokesman sila pareho ni Digong? Tapos parang
right.
na outshine ng husto I mean, you never would have thought Panelo can get outshined given like the stuff he wears and all. Pero mukhang
Yeah.
malalim ang hugot ni Panelo na he was very outshined. So, happy si Panelo ngayon na wala si Harry Roque kasi siya yung parang surrogate ni Digong, going on different channels. Ganun. Pero pag bumalik si Harry Roque, kakainin niya yung buong oxygen ng room. Buti nga oxygen.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
I feel for Panelo. You know, I really feel for Panelo.
Pero alam mo, let me just say, with regards to Panelo, I was actually, nagulat ako kung gaano siya ka slippery. Especially during yung mga hearings, yung umarap siya kasama ni Digong.
Sleaze.
And magaling siya, very slippery compared to Harry Roque. Kasi yung pagharap pa lang niya doon and how he made those disclaimers prior to any hearing started saying, I don't know anything about EJ case, I just represented the administration as a spokesman, but
Yeah.
personal knowledge, wala po ako na. Wow, ang galing. Kaya si Panelo, lusot siya dito eh. Unlike Harry Roque kasi talagang he got his hands dirty. Literally dirty. It all started nung nagbigay siya ng campaign donations of 32 million pesos para kay VP Sara
Yun yung
Duterte.
declared. Yun yung declared. I mean, we never
Yeah,
know, right?
exactly. Union declared. Now, I want you to imagine a Harry Roque able to give 32 million pesos, bigger than Gatchalian. Okay?
Yeah.
And Harry Roque doesn't have a business like the Gatchalians do, and yet he's able to give 32 million. For you to give 32 million, just to put it in context, as a campaign donation, you have to be worth a minimum, okay, a minimum of
1,000
a
times
billion.
more. 1,000 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm being nice when I say a billion. Kasi kung 1 billion, 100 million pesos is a lot of money for a billionaire. Okay?
Yeah.
100 million is 10%. Hindi ka magbibigay ng ganyan for campaign funds. So that's what I'm saying. So for him to give that money, it makes you think, pera ba niya talaga yun? O kaya, hindi niya pera, pinapalabas silang campaign funds galing sa ibang bagay. Saan kaya galing? Tulad ng mga, ano kayang bagay pwede? Mga something confidential siguro, baka pwede. Yon ang nakikita kong problema. And Harry Roque is
Pera
in the
or
middle
bayo.
of all of this. Pogos, confi funds, and all this money laundering, and
De La
boom.
Serna, De La
Kaya tago ko na.
Serna, De La Serna. May
Oh
update,
yeah,
may update
yung
na tayo.
kanya, yung kanya, Boylet, I mean EA, oh, di ba?
Kasi, I'm sorry, but the other day, someone showed me a video of Junisha, right? Sabi ko, may nagsabi niya, alam mo si Junisha, matanda na yung boyfriend niya, hindi na yung bata dati. Sabi ko, sino? Ganyan. Tapos pagtingin ko, hindi, yun na yun, tumanda na siya.
Tumanda na.
Tumanda na rin. He gave up on himself. Parang,
Wala na, oo.
minsan, parang you have to make a choice. Am I gonna be in this relationship or am I gonna give up on myself? Like, sabi ko, yun din yung si Michael yata na DI dati, di ba? I don't know if people remember, there was this press conference 10 years ago, biglang nag-announce si Junisha na magkaka-baby kami ni Michael. And then yung mukha niya, bro, yung like the blood left his face. He was like completely, as in like, yung lips niya blue na. And then nung nakita ko, that's the same guy. So, yun rin. I think baka, I don't know about De La Serna now, but there were concerns he might go down the same. But anyway, I don't want to go down that line of argument. Na-threaten nga ako, libel daw ako ni Rowena Guanzon kasi di ba, may post ako na kasama sila ni Jimmy Bondok. Tapos sabi ko, ano to, Team Kiboloy? Of course, in a cheeky way. Grabe, nabash siya ng big time. Sabi ko, ano ko?
Nabash siya o nabash ka?
Nabash siya ng big time, bro. Like 10,000 emojis. I mean, like whatever. So, siya nagalit siya, nainis siya. Ako naman, why would you take a picture with someone who's so openly defending Kiboloy and all of that, and then you were saying you're kakampink or whatever. So, it was my way of saying, consistency naman dyan. But, so, anyways, whatever. I don't want to get back to this. Ikaw, bro, oh, wow, this is crazy. Now, let's talk about since, by the way, happy Women's Month. Let's talk about Sara Duterte, our great Vice President. Ay, isa pa to. Ang bait-bait niya kanina, di ba? Magandang araw po sa itong buwan na ito. What do you have to say about this other side of Sara Duterte?
Alam mo, Sara Duterte comes across to me na isang parang bipolar na tao eh. Nakaka-insulto to sa mga bipolar, and I apologize for people with bipolar disorders. Pero Sara Duterte is exhibiting symptoms of a politically bipolar person.
Psychoanalyst ka na parang ngayon, bro.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you look at psycho people like that, you do have to analyze psycho.
Yeah.
So, kaya talagang kung psychoanalysis yan, definitely I agree. I am a psychoanalyst. At saka, yun ang problema na nakikita ko talaga with Sara Duterte na hindi ko maintindihan kung ano ang appeal niya sa mga Dutertards sa sumusuporta sa kanya. Even now, I can really see that, alam mo yung nagdo-double down na lang yung mga sumusuporta kay Sara Duterte. In all of this right now, she's trying to come across like being presidentiable. This is her show to give you a glimpse of how I'll be like as a president. She's feeling presidentiable na. Inuunahan na niya yung ating presidente sa mga ganitong mga greetings kasi pinaparamdam niya na, ayun, parang it is a mind conditioning that she's already doing at this point. And even the mga surveys they're all bringing out there already, it's all part of the mind conditioning. Now, kung mahina ang iyong pag-iisip tulad ng ibang mga kaibigan natin sumusuporta sa mga Dutertes, mabubudol ka talaga mga ganyan. Pero, pag ikaw ay isa sa mga sumuporta dati kay Duterte at nag-iisip ka pa, seriously, pag-isipan mo na, ano ba ang loyalty mo sa isang tao at nakalimutan mo na ang loyalty mo una ay para sa ating bansa. ginagawa ni Sara Duterte is all window dressing at this point. Making up for her unhinged moments. At nakikita mo dito, nagbe-behave siya para makalimutan sana natin yung kanyang nagawa at nasabi. At although hindi yun makakalimutan, what does make me wonder though, Richard, is bakit hanggang ngayon wala pang kaso doon sa kanyang pagbanta? O meron, hindi, meron na, di ba?
Meron,
bang
meron
kaso
sa
yung
NBA. Meron sa NBA. Oo.
meron na. Ano nangyari? Bakit wala pang arrest warrant yan? Parang tagal. Ano yung
This
inaantay
is the
nila, Pasko?
Philippines, di ba? We'll talk about the impeachment very shortly. But I want to go back to this. Speaking of psychoanalysis, may nag-correct sa'yo, bro. Sabi na hindi yan, split personality daw ang tawag dyan. Wala ko sinasabi, ha? May live psychoanalysis feed tayo in our, among our followers. So thank you very much for your additional Jungian analysis of what's happening. Oh, by the way, guys, hindi ito sexist, ha? We already have a discussion about this. I think we can legitimately discuss, diba, and criticize regardless of gender, diba? Napaka-diverse yung gender. Trump, like, and Sarah, like, we're talking about many different people of different gender and background. So please lang, let's not use gender card here, and happy Women's Day. Now, I want to talk about this, bro, kasi kanina you keep on saying, hindi ko maintindihan bakit malakas pa rin ang mga Duterte. Speaking of that, actually, as I said, I'm for transparency purposes, I do consultancy, but not, I mean, like, just an expert consultant with this this analytics, AI analytics in Washington DC called Third Eye, no? So they do live analytics analysis of online sentiments, as in lahat ng online sentiments, like every platform you can imagine. And actually, the news is not very good for the administration, and the news is actually good for Duterte. So for instance, ang laki nung baksak ni yung negative sentiments. Again, sentiment analysis lang to.
Yep.
Sentiments kay PBBM, he had a 25% for instance drop dun sa kanyang positive sentiments. Si Sara Duterte much lower. Dun sa impeachment issue, again, this is live, so snapshot lang to. This is not dun naman sa issue ng impeachment, tumataas at least as of live sentiments online yung anti-impeachment people, nagiging majority na. Again, this is snapshot. Again, all of this is snapshot. So ang basa ko kasi dito, bro, is ang galing ang galing mag-weaponize ng mga pro Duterte, whether ito yung totoo or trolls or whatever, any anomaly, and make it look as if lahat kasalanan ng alyansa. I mean, we had no less than our good friend si Malu saying 2 taon na, bakit sinisisi pa rin si Digong when in fact they were always blaming Aquino. Now, why is that relevant? Because for instance, yung Isabela Bridge na bumaksak, di ba? Pinagpiesta ng mga DDS yan, pinagtawanan yan, and of course the fact that I think it's in our region, in the Ilocos region and all, parang there was ganito. But actually, much of that project was implemented during Digong's time. I mean, we can talk about A to Z's of kapalpakan na ngayon lang natin nakikita yung resulta. But because it's happening under the nose of this administration and during elections, some would say suspiciously, para may pagkalaglag bala yung timing, right? Ang galing mag-weaponize. Kaya yung online sentiment, it's not working very well for the administration, to be honest. And it's working much better, at least for the DDS, and to a certain degree, yung independent, kunyari, na actually medyo sympathetic sa DDS. What is your read of this?
Yeah. So, alam mo, there are two things that are happening here. No? Number one, yung troll army. I think the Duterte troll army is very well organized and very well funded. Where does the money come from? I think we all know naman, di ba? Parang something about confidential something, yun na nakikita ko dito, number one, okay? So the way they organize and then the way they spin all the different stories, and try to throw that narrative out there is a real problem because maraming tao nga hindi masyado matalas ang pag-iisip, unfortunately, and dahil doon mabilis sila maniwala sa mga naririnig nila, number one. The second part is this. I think the problem with the Marcos administration right now is may mga palpak na nagagawa sila that are now being highlighted. And they really should utilize their own troll army to be able to switch that narrative. Unfortunately, I don't know if they have a troll army. That's why I posted it on X the other day. I said, sino ba mga trolls ng mga ni BBM? Because pag tinitingnan ko sa X, wala akong nakikitang troll. Yun talagang troll. The way I see with Duterte's troll army, I could even name you the Duterte trolls, and they all have AI photos na mga gwaping yung mga itsura at yung mga pangalan na parang mga bayani, yung mga pangalan na ginagamit nila. Pero pag din mo kay BBM, wala siyang mga ganong trolls. Wala siyang mga mouthpiece na tulad din ng Malutikia At saka wala siyang network, TV network tulad ng SMNI to spread the disinformation. So that's the main difference. And that's hurting BBM in terms of what he's doing or not doing. And so in other words, those 2 points right there, here is where he has to be careful. He really has to improve on the function and the performance of all the departments. Kailangan niya magawa
Yeah,
yon
yeah.
para ipakita na mas magaling siya kaysa sa previous administration. Yan ang isang unang panlaban niya. Pangalawa, kailangan niya mag-utilize ng troll army similar to what Duterte is doing, but in this case, as long as he's really spreading the correct information, I don't have a serious problem with that. Bakit? Kasi lalahanin mo, before social media, Richard, the press was used. There's a lot of envelope, what do you call it? Envelope journalism.
Journalism,
that would
yeah.
happen, where
Yeah.
opinion writers would write. Yeah, those are the first type of trolls that we had. But this was during the time of,
Era.
gatekeeping na
Yeah,
journalism.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now with social media, ito na yung bagong parang envelopmental journalism. I don't see anything wrong with that as long as the information you're sharing is true and you're just interpreting it a certain way. What I don't like with mind you, what some of the trolls are doing naman is really just interpreting some of the data they see. For example, the PhilHealth issue. Hindi mo mabintang din ang mga trolls na wine-weaponize sila yung issue na to because it's a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
And I agree with the issue.
That's
That's
it,
why-
diba? There's a grain of truth. That's the thing eh. That's why powerful itong trolling na yan because there's a grain of truth. It's the way they twist it, right? To
Yes.
make it look as if everything is the fault of the current administration and the timing is really bad and it looks like ang basa ko dito, and this is what we see in the analytics and all of that. Obviously, this captures the sentiments and their flow and ins and outs throughout time. Ang basa ko rin dito kasi ang disadvantage ng BBM administration is that they were in unity with Duterte's for 2 years. Duterte had 7 years, meaning 1 year into elections and 6 years in presidency. So basically may isang dekada na lead time ang yung machinery ng information or disinformation nung kabila, 'di ba? While I think for the Marcos administration, parang their idea is like, should we even play them on their own field? I think they're, parang, is it too late? Is it like even doable? And speaking of the trolls, diba, I responded to you. I said, actually, there were many pro-BBM trolls, but a lot of them just switched out na daw. I mean, Mark Gamboa, our good friend, the blogger, noticed that. And a lot of them realized, wait lang, I was doing fantastic when Duterte and Marcos were together, so I had doubles following. And then now, I don't want to be caught in between. So, ang gagawin ko na lang, I will just do punch-up show, or I'll just, like for instance, Sankay Janjan, who was really a big vlogger. I think he just switched off from politics. I don't know about Coach Jarrett and all of those other people, but there are a couple of very big pro-BBM Marcos from back in the day, bro, na millions followers, and they kind of just switched off. So that's why dominant pa rin yung field. And then you have very pro-BBM who completely turned. Let's just call them Team Vic Rodriguez, right? Like for instance, si Maharlika, yung ating beshi sa California, right, na parating ang Tesla siya, sarap buhay, di ba? Yung mga ganon. So, actually, I agree with you na medyo asymmetrical yung fight eh. And then at the same time, we'll talk about the opposition soon because there's also this new survey, Third Eye, saying that actually, online, the opposition is doing very well. We'll discuss the Iloilo situation soon. So, maingay yung pink or yellow, maingay yung DDS. Ang pinaka-ironically, mahina online is the admin who should have all the resources and advantages. Do you see the weird situation here? Yeah.
But alam mo, I also believe na parang, I don't know if it's all just a PR thing, but I think they're also following their cues from BBM, who's very, di ba, hindi siya pumapatol sa mga iba't ibang mga pinag-uusapan. Which I think is what also could be hurting him because hindi siya pumapatol. That's why I like the addition of Attorney Claire Castro. Kasi
I was just about to
siya,
ask you. Good point.
So, okay. Ito yung take ko with, I haven't even done a video about Attorney Claire Castro, and I'm going to do my video about it, talking about her. Because, alam mo to si Attorney Claire, no? Ang magaling sa kanya kasi nga, vlogger siya at the very start. So, tulad natin, mga vloggers. So, sanay siya makipagbardagulan ng ganito. And, yun ang una, number one. Number two, the legal background does help her.
Yeah.
So, it gives her that a little bit of that superiority pagkalaban yung mga trolls. At nakikita ko paano siya makipagbardagulan. Oh my God, Lord. Talagang ikaw yung matatameme at saka ang magagawa nila ng mga typical DDS trolls is magmumura na lang, mag-insulto kasi wala na silang masabi. Kaya
Oy,
ang
pero
hirap
ano,
na
ito lang
talagang-
masabi ko, hindi ko pa nilabas. I only have a love na love ko yan si Attorney Claire. Parang si Ronald Llamas lang kasama ko yung in the sense of yung chemistry, no? And it's like you, parang ayaw, yung inayaw lang niya mag-live the other day. Parang, I don't know, we should be used to it na. Yung ibabash na tayo ng lifetime. So, my only request to Attorney Claire next time is, live na tayo. Like, yung ginagawa natin, let the bashers come in. But of course, I understand she has been really lahat ng laser nakatutok sa kanya. Now because of their I asked her what is your position again, press officer, is that a spokesman? Sabi niya hindi pa rin naman, BBM is still his own spokesman, pero parang sabi ko, so are you the Harry Roque of BBM? In a way, natawa na lang because yun ang kailangan ni BBM, di ba? Harry Roque, a kind of a not only a bongo operator but also a Harry Roque, right?
Pero my God naman, to compare her to Harry Roque, ang layo.
No, I mean in
Okay,
terms of
sobrang layo
function.
talaga.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I mean in terms of function, not in terms of
Yeah.
character and morality. Ang
Yeah,
galing
even-
kasi mag-spin
even
si Harry Roque.
Ability-wise.
No, Harry Roque was very good spin doctor. I'll give it to him. I debated with him on TV among others when he was Duterte's and he's very aggressive. I remember we had one interview, Inside Story with Al Jazeera. I use the term Philippines is still a fledgling democracy, walang rule of law, and then said, excuse me, what fledgling? We are an established democracy since 1986. Tapos ako parang, to be sure, excuse me, do not cut me, do not be rude. Gumanon siya sa akin, parang, what? Sabi ko ganun. And then after yung tapos ng show, yung British accent that anchor said, thank you very much, Mr. Hedarian, for being so professional. Tapos dalawa sila nag-aaway, si Ara, yung journalism prof ng UP, yung isang so silang dalawa na lang nag-aaway, hindi na ako nakialam. So for me, it's very effective for Digong noon. He was very aggressive. Even sa international media, he'll come like that, diba? So,
Right.
that's what they need. Kaya nga sabi ko kay Claire Castro, you have to be, bardaguls na. So, we're hoping to have regular na kami ni Attorney Castro and hopefully we can have you and Ronald and on sharing us. But, what else do you think the administration should do? Before we talk about the opposition, because we have another survey here that looks at actually the Pink are not doing too bad. In fact, they're doing very well online, especially in light of the latest Iloilo event. But what else is your advice, bro, from your understanding?
So right now, so that's one of the best moves that BBM did is to hire Attorney Claire Castro. And on top of that, I think you should have more public pronouncements. At sinabi nga niya at one point, di ba gagawa nga siya ng parang regular press con at inaantay
Yeah.
kung susunod yung press con. The last one he did was, I think over a month ago, where he answered a lot of different questions and that was
Yeah.
very effective. He has to do that every month. Panindigan niya yun.
Every
Gawin
month
niya,
lang, bro.
nakakatulong yun sa kanya.
Parang feeling ko
Ha?
once a week at least, yung fireside chat style. Yun ang proposal ko ng matagal. I mean,
Sure.
since Duterte, any president should do that. Kasi Duterte was the master showman. I mean,
Yeah, mahirap.
ang galing ni Duterte sa ganun yeah.
Pero ang mahirap lang kasi kung once a week is yung maraming trabaho talaga ang presidente na kailangan asikasuhin. Nakakalimit yan sa kanilang actual trabaho. Yun ang nakikita kong problema pag once a week. But kung ang habol mo lang naman is making sure your ratings are up, yeah, once a week would work. And if you can squeeze the time, why not?
Hindi, bro.
But,
I mean, come
for
on,
me-
bro. We're in the middle of elections. The Sara impeachment issue is a matter of existential threat. I mean, to be honest, maybe you can rest later on next year. But this year, bro, is war year. Come on. I mean, we know this.
Right.
I know, of
Oh, yeah,
course,
you
he's the
know,
president.
okay.
He has 10 million problems. But what I'm saying is, information warfare is happening as we speak. Bugbog saradong admin. Maybe the president has to take the lead and come out. And there are many like-minded people who may not be pro-admin, but share the administration's antipathy towards Duterte's, who are waiting for the guy on top to show, more consistency and spontaneity, if I can put it
Okay.
that way. Diba? And practice lang yun. I don't know. When was the first time you did live? I mean, I was a bit self-conscious the first time I did live 4 years ago. And then over time, kumapal lang mukha ko. And then natural na. Parang kung hindi live, sayang oras ko. Parang, no, let's make it live. Yung mga ganun, budutsan natin, di ba? So for me, practice din yun eh.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, tama ka dun, ano, and I actually will concede to that point, ano, that that is an important case that he needs to do more live talaga, and once a week magkaroon siya ng press con niya, and it gives him an opportunity to be closer to the people, to be seen by the people. Now, by the way, ito lang masabi ko, on the ground, kasi di ba I've been going around talking to people, all right? Alam mo Marcos, BBM has a lot of support on the ground. And when I even spoke to the barangay captains, a lot of them disagree with Duterte's policies. Kaya lang, they didn't have a choice. He was president that time. I talked to them mismo. Nagulat ako sa mga narinig ko. People just were so afraid to contradict Duterte kasi baka patayin sila. It was that bad. Now, when I spoke to all
Yeah.
these people and even the people on the ground, a lot of people actually love BBM to a fault. Okay? Mind you, to a fault. That why I had to correct them on that. Nagugulat ako sa mga iba't ibang kwento na mga narinig ko while I was speaking to all these people. But in that sense, tama ka, that's why it's important that he reinforces the vote that he got, that the people that voted for him, paalala niya sa kanila kung ba't niyo ako binoto, at papakita ko sa inyo yung aking tapang ngayon at ang aking lakas. On top of that, he needs to act. So on top of doing press cons, he needs to act. What do I mean by act? Ibig sabihin, ay kailangan siya gumawa ng mga tamang hakbang para mapaipakita na meron talagang tamang hustisya dito at pinaglalaban niya ang hustisya ng ng lahat ng mga mamamayan by making sure na may kaso, na matuloy ang mga kaso laban kay Sara at sa tatay
It
niya.
has to be
Yung sedition
decisive.
case sa tatay niya, bakit hindi pa nagagawa yun? The guy literally is creating wanting a revolutionary
Seditious.
government
Yeah,
trying
it's
to
seditious.
overthrow the country.
Yeah, it's seditious. I mean, I got essentially. I know Attorney Claire has to be careful because she's no longer a vlogger like us. But I said, are they a destabilizer? I know the legal implications of that are still hazy, but I said in the sense that they were tagging the rest of us back in the day. Anyone who criticized Digong, oh, you're destabilizers. If we expose the extrajudicial killings, but for me, they're actually the real destabilizers right now. They're openly talking about, oh, maybe the military wants to step in. The country's fractured. I mean, these are verbatim what Duterte has been saying. So for me, sedition should. Ang problema lang daw kasi sa sedition, right, is that, in the case of like Panelo and some of these Duterte people, they're so clownish that you cannot take them
Yes.
seriously now. Therefore, because they're not credible, they can always say they were just joking, or that no one takes them. You know what I'm saying? There's that kind of a weird postmodern deniability, weird gray area thing. Kaya you're absolutely right. There has to be some legal hammer that eventually has to come down on these people. Otherwise, they're gonna mumbo jumbo with our system indefinitely. They're just gonna say, "Oh, I'm just joking. Oh, I'm just joking," and the next thing you know, there's a coup d'état, right? Or a coup, failed coup attempt, right? I mean, I was worried when our three-time coup. I mean, I think he's the ultimate alumnus of like Trillanes is the only one I know, Senator. Tatlong coup d'état ang ginawa niya. He said, "I'm worried there could be someone like me inside nowadays, waiting to be activated."
And
So yeah.
no, alam mo and also by the way that isa pa pala kailangan ni BBM gawin is magkaroon siya dapat ng loyalty check with the military. That's important. And that's something that
Yeah, regular,
Duterte was
regular, yeah.
doing well, is making sure military and police personnel were rewarded for their loyalty, for killing. And that's what happened to a certain batch. Was it the batch 96 and 97? Pero ang problema noon is when they actually killed a military officer, doon na nagkagulo-gulo lahat at doon na na-realize sila na mali na talaga to. Pero yan ang kailangan gawin ni BBM, ay kailangan maging malapit siya sa militar at paalala niya sa kanila na I'm the president at babantayan ko kayo at tulungan niyo ako, tutulungan ko rin kayo. And that's how it really works, And although I do believe that marami naman sa ating military are following the Constitution and following their mandate to be able to protect the country against any invaders, foreign or local, di ba? Any threats like that.
Absolutely.
But kailangan talaga ni Marcos magpaulit-ulit, magpakita ng strength na ganyan.
Sigurista. Yeah. I mean, again, I got some spirited reaction from some military people when I gave a speech about this Manila Peninsula a month ago in a high-level meeting. And diba, Manila Peninsula is where there was a coup d'etat by Trillanes and all. So I said, in memoriam to that, like, I want to remind people that there are attempts at sedition, right? And there were military folks there who said, no way, blah, blah, blah. But ang point ko is, of course, all due respect, I know the military very well. I deal with the military throughout the years because of the West Philippine Sea issue. But ang point ko is, I mean, look at South Korea, very well-developed, established democracy, went almost berserk. So it could happen in any country. You can never say 100%. So you're absolutely right. You just have to constantly make sure everything is on an even keel, just to be segurista, because this is a crazy situation of an ex-president agitating for destabilization over and over and over again. Your vice president threatening to assassinate. So these are okay, ganito siguro minsan we have to also understand BBM is also in an unprecedented situation. I don't think any Filipino president, if not any president, has faced a crazy situation whereby his immediate predecessor and his constitutional successor, if ever something happens, are both attacking him and threatening him every other month. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I'm not saying I'm sympathetic per se, pero parang, in fairness to the guy, right? Grabe, the kind of threat he's facing.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Now, this is just hypothetical. You think Lenny would have been able to handle this, and how would she have handled this?
Oh no, I answered this long time ago. I said, dalawa yung, I don't want to use the word blessing in disguise, but I would say the weakness of the opposition accelerated the disintegration of unity. Because, right? Once they realized there's no opposition left, they went at each other, right? So it was a zoo without a fence. That's one thing. B, if Lenny were there, forget about Duterte's. I think the Congress would have also gone against her. Because Lenny would push for good reforms and good governance and ayaw niya ng katrapuhan and corruption. So remember what Congress did during Arroyo's time. Oh, and by the way, there could be also misogyny involved, right? Remember, during Arroyo's time, the Congress would fight back against Arroyo. And Arroyo obviously is on the other side of the equation, very unpopular president. My fear was, if Lenny had won and if Lenny was seen as not decisive and strong enough, oh yeah, hindi lang Duterte, Marcos, Trapos, everyone will go after that. So it could have been a very unstable government. For all we know, maybe BBM is the perfect transition figure. Meaning, take care of the Duterte chaos, and then hopefully by 2028 we can have a sane, normal-ish politics. Yeah, I've made that argument in writing and on the record. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe sometimes we also have to remind ourselves, brother. I mean, you and I are not the commander-in-chief, and people could get killed if some big decisions are made. I mean, even yung arresting the Dutertes, you think, bro, that will happen safely? Wala yung nangyari kay Kiboloy na siege. You'll see 10 versions of that. Right? I mean, as we speak, South Korea is still struggling to deal with the situation of their ex-president. Si Kim Jong-un ang tawag ko sa kanya, Kim Jong-un. Si President Yun. Now, I want to go to the last part. So we had also a survey dito sa Third Eye saying that actually, when it comes to online sentiment, actually the opposition is not doing very bad. In fact, they're doing very well. There was a big event, of course, the Kiko BAM campaign sa Iloilo, major endorsement. Ito na, nag-unity na. Riza, Lenny, Frank Drilon, former Senate President, everyone was there. Of course, Iloilo is the home base of former Senate President Frank Drilon, former Justice Secretary Frank Drilon. And the numbers look very, very well for the opposition online. A lot of noise, a lot of good positive sentiment. What is your sense about the opposition when it comes to Senate race? Do you think the best scenario here is that the administration will go all in to make sure walang manalo sa mga pro-China or pro-Duterte candidates, and then at the same time, that opens a space or two for the BAMs and the Kikos of this world?
Yeah, so there are two angles here that are working in favor of BAM and Kiko. Especially BAM, because I think BAM is ranking higher than Kiko Pangilinan when it comes to the surveys, diba? So either one of the two, ito yung advantage ngayon. Number one, you have the Pink movement and the Dilawan movement that's actually pushing them to win. That's a big force right there. Assume that 16 million is going to all vote for them. Okay, so that's one. Second one, the BBM administrative slate, if they look at the numbers at nakikita nila na yung may iba tayong mga kandidate dito mukhang hindi naman mananalo, malayo sobra, then why not itulak na natin si Bam at Kiko para matanggal yung for example, kalaban nila in the last 3 slots available is si Bato de la Rosa. Pam, tanggal si Bato de la Rosa. So they could play this game. Aimee Marcos, I don't think he's gonna win. But if you look at Bato, kasi Bato could win eh. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that he could win. So by pushing Bam up, you could actually displace Bato de la Rosa in that sense. And because they know that there's a pink movement behind Bam Aquino, baka pwede lang gawin yun. And remember, Bam is not really that BBM and BAM, I mean, the families are not naman mortal enemies right now. They actually talk, and even
Oh yeah, that event in Sorsogon, di ba, na nag-shake hands si
Yeah.
Lenny and BBM, BAM was there, kind of facilitated it,
Yeah.
from my understanding, yeah.
So I don't see why that's an impossible scenario, and I do believe that there's a possibility that it's something that is brewing, hindi harap-harapan of course, pero something underneath. O plan B tayo dito. Ano pwede natin gawin? Kung ito nakita natin itong kandidato natin mukhang malabo to kasi literally ang layo niya, itulak na natin yung suporta natin dito sa isa para at least yun tanggal yung kalaban. Kasi that's the whole point. At least if I was a strategist, that's how I would
Yeah.
do it. Titignan ko talaga kung sino yan na lang ipapasok natin. But of course, I won't make that public because of course, I prefer
Of course.
my slate
Of course.
completely
Of course.
is gonna win.
Of course. Well, I mean, speaking of his slate, kanina, President Marcos Jr. said he may be in the wrong industry after all because nagpalakpakan lahat when Bong Budots Revilla came in and like palakpakan lahat ng tao. I think we have to all learn the Budots moves talaga. It sells big time when it comes to campaigning all around the country. But bro, I know I cut out a little bit there, but I want to go to the last part of our conversation today, and I think this is a very serious conversation and very forward-looking. So basically, there are two dimensions to this. One is, pag tinignan mo yung Pilipinas, I think younger Gen X like you and older millennials like me are extremely underrepresented when it comes to politics. I mean, for heaven's sakes, Macron became the president at my age, 37, 38. He became the president of France, right? Back in 2017. In Thailand, Pita, at the age of 41, 42, he was the prime minister designate until, the king, the mad king, and the military came in and, finished the party. So we were looking around, I was talking to friends and I'm like, bakit wala tayong anything like that? Like, millennials or younger Gen X like you, shaping politics from the very middle and kind of like basically middle finger to everyone and say we want to do it our own way. En marche in the case of France, the move forward in future forward in the case of Thailand. I was thinking maybe at some point we have to look at that. And then suddenly something also dawned upon me, like, wait lang, what about the Gen Z? Because they will increasingly become the biggest voting bloc.
Yeah.
Not yet daw. I was told that still millennials will be the biggest voting bloc and our generations are still the most maingay online. So a lot of this analytics is probably capturing Gen X and millennials. But down the road, we have to reach out to the Gen Z. And this is important because you and I always have this kuya talk advice to the younger men. What is your read of the Gen Z in terms of getting them interested in politics? Because my sense of Gen Z is they're very skeptical of established institutions. They are not invested in democracy the way even us millennials were. I'll tell you what, in 2016, we were the reason why Lenny won, my generation, because the voting share of Lenny was so high among millennials, it canceled out the boomers who went for BBM. And the hope
Right.
is the millennials will kind of hold the line for now. But Gen Zs are, it's like an open big question. We still don't have a legit exit poll from 2022. The last survey I saw was by Pulse Asia in March 2022 that said 75% of Gen Zs were pro-unity. Meaning natuwa sila sa TikTok and pa-cute and all of that. So that makes me think, if they're very skeptical of established institutions, if they go on TikTok, apparently I was told Gen Zs go to TikTok to Google. Like, like we go on Google, like you go on Google and try to find, they go straight to TikTok and Google, not Google, like they TikTok what are the best restaurants or what is the best way to get there. You know what I'm saying? That like basically their neural pathways are different from us.
Yes.
And then I was wondering, like, how do we win over the Gen Zs for a politics that is forward-looking and hopeful? Kasi medyo cynical lahat ng tao ngayon, and I understand them because they were generation pandemic, generation climate change. My goodness, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is coming and it's going to disrupt jobs. So how are we going to win over the Gen Zs? I know these are very big questions, but I want to tell you, this is what is ticking me right now, these big questions. For heaven's sakes, we have to take over. We have to shape this more directly soon. But we have to have the Gen Z on our side eventually.
Yeah. You know, Richard, alam mo, right now, with regards to the Gen Zs, ganito lang yun eh. We are doing the work to be able to lay the groundwork
Yeah.
for a lot of the Gen Zs. At ang maganda dito, if you look at TikTok, there are some really good Gen Zs out there. Women that are speaking out already, that are political vloggers.
Yeah.
I have seen and met a couple of them already, and I'm very impressed. I hope that there are going to be more women and men na sa edad na yun that are going to be learning to speak out more. And not just speak out, inspire people to run for Congress, inspire people to run for councilors, start with kagawad, and be able to move up and learn. That is actually why I'm running for councilor.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hoping to do by doing this is show people na hindi ganun kahirap yung, I mean, mahirap siya, pero that it's accessible and anyone can do it and it's possible. And hopefully, by this action that I do as an example, ay may mga nanonood ng mga Gen Zs dyan na maisip nila na, pwede pala eh. Kahit sino pala kaya itong gawin. Why not I'll do it na? And if we can do that, one person, just one, every time that we speak out, meron tayong isang napaisip na baka
Yeah.
pwede akong maging public servant, then we've done our job. That's why I like
Yeah.
going to mga university talks. I was in a university talk 2 weeks ago in LaSalle because for me, every time you interact with a student, it sparks that thought in their mind. Plant that seed. Now one day, they will be the leaders of the world, the leaders of our country. At yun ang pwede nating asahan na mangyari. And I think it will happen. I am not as cynical about it as you are. From what you're seeing, I think that may pag-asa pa naman. I mean, you see a Vico Soto, for example. That's a good example for a lot of the young people right now. That, uy, this guy's an outsider if you think about it. And yet he's able to do that. And now, he paved the way for a lot of people that are younger than him to say na kung kaya niya, kaya ko rin. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I'm not saying that. I was just looking at the actual numbers. Like, we don't even have a single millennial senator. The only one
Right.
running that has a chance is a Villar. Bagong mukha. You know, that tells you how bad the situation is, right? You go to
Right.
other major democracies similar to ours. Millennials are highly represented in cabinet
Right.
positions. In
Okay.
their. That's what I'm talking about. The numbers of represented. This is not. This is just facts. This is just empirics.
Yeah. Okay. So let me counter that with this. So kasi ang problem natin with the type of democracy that we have with the senators, it is a popularity contest. So you have to build up your popularity first before you get to a Senate level, which is a problem in itself right there.
Yeah.
Ngayon, if you look at naman our Congress and the composition of our Congress, may mga ilang taon yung mga ibang kongresista natin dyan, 20 plus, late 20s, early 30s, which is great. I actually like the young guns and I like a lot of these young kids right now that are in Congress. So, kung yun ang titignan mo in Congress naman, I think that we have the right representation. You're looking at Senate lang where you have only 24 senators. That's kind of hard when you have 24 seats and yet people still vote for the popular
Yeah, but how
ones
many
na
of these
matagal na din
congressmen, bro?
nakita.
But how many of these congressmen are not from political dynasties too? Na who happen to be millennial? Do you get what I'm saying? You also have the millennials who are there, but they come from the obese dynasties, right? And I mean it in a technical sense of the word, meaning yung tatay niya nandun na, yung nanay niya nandito na, yung ganyan. So the millennials that we have are also not necessarily a progressive one or they're necessarily on their own merit. No offense to them, right? So that's what I'm saying. Again, it's not about cynicism. It's a question of like, wait, catch up time tayo. We need to get things going, right? We need to get things going. Because a lot of the millennials I know are more like behind the scenes. They're like chief of staffs. There are strategies behind them. So like, okay, that's great, but you have to get in. Kaya nga, I love what you're doing. I love what Mark is doing, right? At least you're breaking the psychological barrier.
Yeah, but at the same time, Richard, like for me kasi, ang pinakamahirap talaga dito ay, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about political dynasties, and why I believe that there is good and bad in it. Okay, first of all, ang problema kasi natin dito is kung ikaw ang tatay mo ay doktor, malaking posibilidad ikaw ay magiging doktor. Correct? Kung tatay mo ay artista, malaking posibilidad na magiging artista ka din, di ba? O kaya kung ang nanay mo ay isang architect na magaling, chances are you're going to be an architect. You see where I'm going with this, right? So I understand why political dynasties happen. Kasi pag nakikita mo yung magulang o yung isang family member mo that, as a kid growing up, you see that, you will tend to want to mimic or be in that same
You mean
position
like
that your
Baste
parents are
and
in.
Sarah? Like Baste and Polong in the case of Digong?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that I think it's a good idea. I think there's good and bad in it. Okay. Now, having said that, okay. So let me first finish that train of thought. Lang. For example, I'll give you an example. You know naman who Carlo Ople is, di ba? Kilala mo si Carlo Ople, right? Grandson or is it son ni former Senator Blas Ople? He's not a politician. He's a very good speaker. If you hear him speak, magaling siya because he's heard his parents and grandparents
Yeah.
speak and do public speaking and stand in front of people all day. And when he was a teen, he was made to do that. Sanay na siya. So he could have been a perfect candidate to be able to move to politics, but he didn't want to go into politics. So what I'm saying is that there is a good use to political dynasties in that aspect. Now, how do you break it? This is where we, you and me, people like us, vloggers that talk about politics are able to inspire the youth to see that it is possible, number one. Number two, it also starts with education. That yun ang pinakamahirap gawin sa ating edukasyon dito sa Pilipinas. Kadalasan ang edukasyon natin ay kulang sa pagbibigay ng iba't ibang mga options o mga pagpipilian ng ating mga kabataan sa mga career na gusto nilang puntahan. Kaya mga kadalasan mga kabataan, pag nakakausap po sila, pag nag-iikot ako, alam mo gusto nila maging vlogger o artista. Sus, Mario Josep, I'm not putting down vloggers because we're vloggers. But what I'm saying is that they have lilimita ang imahinasyon ng
Yeah.
ating mga kabataan dahil walang nagbibigay sa kanila ng mga tamang direksyon at oportunidad na makita ang mga iba't ibang profesyon tulad ng pagiging public servant. Yon. And that's where we need to start. From that impressionable age of 10 to 15. Kailangan nakikita na nila yon. So, that's probably how they should do it. Whether it can be done or not, I don't know. Is it easy? Probably not.
Well, I mean, again, yes, in theory, I see the idea na yung, well, this is very it's a very Filipino mythology, right? Yung, like the mana will be passed from. It's actually a very Southeast Asian Oriental thing. The idea that the mana will be passed from the parents to the children. Like if you have the, I don't know, the mandate of heaven, if to put it in a Chinese way, it goes down, ganon. But as I said, I mean, I just, all I have to do is to think of Baste and Polong and but going back to this, okay, I have no, okay, ganito na lang. That's why people make a distinction between lean and obese dynasties. Anong lean dynasty?
Yeah.
So for instance, I was interviewing si Congresswoman Geraldine Roman, right? And we were talking about dynasties. And then sabi niya, hindi kami dynasty, ganun. Ganun. But I said, no, but you're a dynasty in the sense that, you're familyless. But sabi na, but at least it's just, one, like one line. I said, oh yeah, you're not obese, sabi kong gano'n. Which is like, yung tatay dito, yung nanay dito, yung kapatid dito,
Yep.
yung kabit dito, anak ng kabit dyan. Yun yung problema ko. Like, having lean dynasties, it's unavoidable and sometimes even desirable. They're all once in a while, like, I don't know, Churchillian figures and their children may be as smart as them. But there are also many cases of great parents and then horrible children, brat or depressed, or I mean, anak ni Gandhi. We can talk about, like. But my point is, there's really something peculiarly wrong in the Philippines kasi even compared to other Asian or Latin American countries who have similar backgrounds to us, ang taas ng concentration 70 to 80% of seats. And then, ang taas nung, hindi lang concentration of seats being won, but multiple seats simultaneously at multiple levels. So, basically, binaboy na yung system. So, I see where you're coming from, but for me, it's like we're way beyond that na. Hindi na tayo yung Jokno to Jokno, right? Like, I mean, for me, had the great Senator Jokno been around and then Chel Jokno becomes the
Right.
next senator, yeah, 100%. I have no problem with that, brother. Or even with Pinoy, I didn't have super serious problem that the mom became president and he became president. But my point is like, usually the better ones lean lang, and then the really bad
Yeah.
ones are the obese. So yun yung, again, this is the empirical situation we're facing. Again, this is not an idealistic argument. It's just the empirics of it means. And then there's the aspect of, it's economics, right? Market capture, parang monopoly business, 'di ba? Siyempre, sasabihin ng monopoly business, hindi, people love, the reason we are the only product in town is because we have the best product. But what they don't look at is they buy out and intimidate all of their rivals. Kind of like Standard Oil, right? Back in the 19th century. So I
Yeah.
see it similar. It's a market failure. In this case, it's a institutional political failure. Kumbaga parang oligopolistic or monopolistic practice na yan. Because alam natin when it comes to elections, it's not a question of merit or talino or speech. It's a question of resources, guns, gold, and goons in many parts of the Philippines. Maybe not in Metro Manila or some of the big cities, but marami sa ating mga probinsya, basically it goes down who got the biggest militia and
Yep.
vote buying machine. Unfortunately, that's the dark reality. So doon, I don't buy the dynasty argument na this is a mana being passed down. And I see it more like basically mafioso operation. This is like Palermo, Italy 100 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, with that argument, I agree with you on that. Na especially nga yung the different dynamics of whether it's in Luzon versus kung sa Mindanao yan or sa Visayas, ano. And I wanted to actually add this lang, na yung napansin ko mga kapala that one of the big problems we have is television and the entertainment in general, and how entertainment actually shapes how we view people. And I think they play a
Yeah, you're right.
big role in why we end up voting for the type of leaders that we have, creates the leaders that we have today. Malaki ang influence ng television sa atin hanggang ngayon. At yung pagtinignan mo yung mga palabas natin ngayon, palaging yung mga tema nila, pareho na lang lagi yan. At dito mo
Yeah.
nakikita na nasi-shape yung mga utak ng ating mga tao dahil sa mga nakikita nila, na tingin nila katotohanan. Ayan, kaya mga Lito Lapid, Bong Revilla, Jingoy Estrada, sino pa ba mga action stars yan? Ang dami-dami nila. Tapos yung mga tulad
May
ni Willie
internet
Revilla,
pa,
baka
ganyan.
manalo nga yan eh. Kaya doon ako
Yeah.
nababahala talaga pag nakikita ko yung mga ganyang mga programa na ipinapakita sa ating mga kabataan.
Pero
And
hindi ba the same yung problem, bro? Kasi napansin ko, even in the academe, supposed to be the most intellectual field, may patronage politics din eh. Even in the showbiz,
okay,
it's patronage politics. I think the reason why napaka-stagnant, everything stagnant, political stagnant, media stagnant, even the academe stagnant, purong patron-patron game lang yan eh. Hindi siya merit-based eh. And I realize this is a toxic political culture we have developed at every dimension. You have been in the showbiz industry. I have had interaction with people in media and all. I work in mainstream media. Napansin ko even there may pagka-dynastic politics din eh. I mean, not in a literal sense of the word, pero parang yung bata ni ganito ay manager ng ganitong
yes.
department, si ganito na director, yung bata niya ganyan. Sila lang gumagawa ng movie, sila. I know it's not a merit-based system, to be honest. Barely a merit-based system. Kaya we got all these mediocrities.
Well, okay, so I'll give you some pushback on this. That happens in all industries. So hindi lang na, and there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing in here. I don't think there's like completely. I don't think it's
That's why.
completely a wrong thing. I think that's
Kaya
just
pala.
an easier way to do it. Kasi when you're working in, just using showbiz as an example because that's the one you brought up, Pag sa showbiz kasi, pag ginamit na lang isang producer na sanay sa isang artista na ginagamit niya, pabalik-balik lang sila doon dahil mas mabilis, nakatrabaho na nila, mas okay. At pag mag-recommenda, dahil din doon sa mga ganung bagay, na mapagkakatiwala mo na pag nirecommenda ni ganun, ni ganyan, maayos yung trabaho. Ganun lang yun. So in any industry, this really happens. And yes, that is the primary way of doing it, but there's also the exceptions to the rule. May mga paraan naman na ginagawa ang ating industriya sa showbiz to be able to give chances to a lot of these up-and-comers na hindi dadaan sa mga politika na pinagsasabi natin ngayon. Tulad ng mga shows like Big Brother where you really get people out of nowhere that's like, oy, bam, we've got a star here. And then yun na, the next big thing happens from there. So may mga ganun naman. Sa politics na nga, I want to also mention in politics na pag tinignan mo naman kasi, yung mga Villar, I'll give you as an example of the Villars. Yung unang tumakbo si Manny Villar, naalala mo, tumakbo siya for president and he lost.
Yeah.
Right? But that started his interest in politics. He had the money, he had the money to be able to do it. He had the manpower to do it, and then he was able to turn that into becoming a senator. 'Di ba? So started with president, but the move for president, I don't think I think he knew he wasn't going to win, but he captured the minds of the people, and then from there became a senator, and then from there groomed na his kids to be able and his wife to be able to do it using his name. So now they're a dynasty. But they didn't start as a dynasty. It only was because,
Yeah,
pumasok yung
dynasty yung
nanay.
other side, bro. The Las Piñas, the Aguilar, that side. Yun yung
Yeah,
dynasty. Yeah.
yes, oh, yun. Oh, yeah. But in terms of the Villar's themselves, yun na yun eh. Yung nanay at yung anak, okay. Tapos, pero yun na nga, I still, that doesn't mean that I want a Camille Villar to be on it. I really don't. I prefer na isa na lang nga. One is more than enough. But unfortunately, I mean, that we are a small voice in this big ocean of politics, and it looks like we're gonna have a lot of political dynasties in this new Senate that's gonna be coming up for 2025.
Well, dynasties are less my worry now than clowns. Total clowns winning over ang bigyan ng
Oh,
magpera o ba yung nayata tayo sa next. No, I want to say last thing. This is important because it's important who will be taking over seats in the Senate because the Sara impeachment almost certainly is a matter of the next Congress, right? From
yep.
your understanding, bro, how important is it that we prevent the clowns from going in, and more importantly, the people who would want to get the Dutertes off the hook, and
Yeah.
potentially worse, help the Dutertes to come back to power? Di ba? Yun yung
Yeah.
stake sa elections na to eh. This is not a usual midterm elections na referendum on the administration. This is really about the question of will the Dutertes be held accountable, or is it a Duterte comeback kind of dynamic soon?
Yeah. So if you look at it right now, may mga lumalabas sa surveys, I don't know how reliable these surveys are, that a certain percentage of Filipinos are actually planning to vote for or candidates that are against the impeachment. Did you see these numbers? I don't know how accurate or
Nah, there's no legit
honest.
numbers. Ano yan, these are propaganda fights. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the thing, that kind of propaganda could help them. But if you look at the actual survey of the people that are going to be running and winning, mukhang mananalo naman karamihan are from the alyansa ng Bagong Pilipinas slate. And that's as much as I'm only voting for two or three of the people in that entire administration slate, I am still happy that it's not the other party. Because the other party is way worse than what we're going to be seeing coming into the Senate. Now, yung propaganda na nangyayari dito that's saying that people are only going to vote for senators that are against the impeachment. Yes, you're right. Propaganda nga yan. But at the same time, what I'm worried about is that it could influence some votes.
Yeah.
But that's where the pushback happens, and that is where Marcos and that's our BBM should really push back that narrative and say, nope, there are more people that support the impeachment, and senators that they feel are supportive of impeachment are going to be the ones that people are going to vote for. Kailangan talagang i-counter mo yung mga ganyang mga fake news eh. Now, if you have to spin it away from the narrative they're trying to create.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And for me, I think make or break ito even for the Senate. If after all the hearings we saw, after all the expose, after everything, wala rin mangyari, and even worse, things will turn in the right. I think people will just lose faith na in our institutions. Na walang joke time na lahat to. Like, no hearing really. I mean, the only hearings that produced a result were Riza Ontiveros hearings, right? Yun lang, dun lang. Kay Alice Go, kay Kiboloy, that's it. Name me how many other hearings, like Farmali hearings, all those Blue Ribbon Commission, whatever hearings. None of them really resulted in anything serious. So, my point is, kaya nawala ng pag-asang tao sa Senado, sa ating institutions, sa ating demokrasya. So, my bigger worry is a collapse in total confidence in our state institutions, especially as the Gen Zs come in and become the dominant bloc. Last point, this is where actually I appreciate these conversations, because I think people tend to think that people like me who come from the academe and mainstream media were very traditional minded. But you know what? Actually, my take is a bit different on things, and that's why I like working with people like you among others, is because ako, ang basa ko talaga, remember the other day nag-trending sana all yung Singapore, di ba? Yung si Lawrence Wong, like, squeaky clean, boom, 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 ganyan, diba? Akin sa tingin ko, that kind of leadership won't work in most countries. First of all, Singapore is not a real democracy, so that's really a selection process among other things.
Yep.
But more importantly, I don't think we need leaders who are like IQ 180, Oxbridge graduates, and feeling ko medyo overrated na rin yung leadership na ganun. I mean, just look at high IQ people like Elon Musk and the mess they're creating. And or if you don't agree with Elon Musk, I can talk about other people. Ang dami mga Ivy League graduates and what they have done. for me, the leaders we need are, they have to have, of course, a minimum level of intelligence to absorb information para hindi sila mauto ng kanilang mga advisors, right? Because I didn't vote for the advisor. But I think leadership is way more than that. It's someone who can inspire, someone who can take pressure and stress, someone who's willing to take risk, right? Push the envelope.
Yep.
So no, I don't agree that we need leaders like what Singapore has, because Singapore is a completely different model. It's not even a real democracy. It's a city state. They can have this kind of a boys club, Eton club, like smarty, squeaky clean, Oxbridge guys. I don't think that will work for the Philippines, to be honest. And I'm saying as someone who throughout my life tried to be always like that kind of gold standard guy, write for the New York Times, go to the top schools, whatever. Pero ako, pag intindi ko, nowadays, dapat relatable ka, bro. The most important thing
Yeah.
is to be spontaneous, relatable, and matapang ka. Because otherwise, all these degrees and squeaky cleanness, walang kwenta yan. Because our country, just like US, many other democracies, is such a big mess, bro. You need a heavy lifting leadership.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, that if you look at naman, a good example of what you just mentioned is Pinoy. Now, I use Pinoy as a good example because I don't look at Pinoy as a very smart guy. Okay.
Yeah, pretty
Not
mediocre
particularly smart.
background. Pretty mediocre background. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, mediocre and performance-wise mediocre. But what he did was inspire the
In fairness,
people.
yeah.
And dito ako na-impress kasi because of how he inspired the people, maraming mga nagtrabaho sa kanya ng mga technocrats, ng mga magagaling,
Yeah.
na marunong talaga magpatakbo ng mga iba't ibang parte ng ating gobyerno. At pumasok sila willingly, wholeheartedly, and they were so inspired and excited to make changes in our government. And the beauty of that was when Pinoy left, he left with a surplus in the budget. And the budget and the national debt, national deficit all improved during Pinoy's time. And I met some of his cabinet secretaries that time. And I remember, I was like, wait, you were from the private sector. Bakit bakit ka umalis sa private sector para pumunta dito? Wow. And then when you hear them say, na-inspire ako dahil kay Pinoy, I'm like, wow. That is what you call a
Very
leader.
true.
If they can inspire
Very
people to do the changes that are necessary.
That's very true. I mean, speaking of the Pinoy administration, look at people very close to me. Ronald Llamas, di man lang nag-graduate, di ba? Pero Ronald Llamas is one of the most sensible and sharpest political minds in the country.
Yes.
Kahit hindi siya nag-graduate. Like, I love that guy. Sabi niya, ako lang yung secretary na wala man lang diploma. Like, that's my point. It's not about squeaky clean, impressive Oxbridge. Like, oh, it's good to have them. There's nothing wrong. But my point is, ultimately, it comes down to EQ, spontaneity, and courage and all. Because the smart ones will come. You're absolutely right. I remember during Pinoy's time, there were many seniors I had, medyo bata pa ako noon who were coming back from abroad, working in Silicon Valley, working in London City. They would coming back and they would work. And in fact, again, I don't know what's your view on that. They wanted to do the same if Maro had won Dow. Anyway, we can have a longer... But the idea was that, if you have leaders like that, kahit hindi sila perfect, may pagka-mediocre, whatever, because ultimately, they're noble obliged, their heart is in the right place, will bring in the smart people, and the smart people would love to work for the government. Parang nakaka-proud daw to work for government back in the day. And then Digong came and the rest is history. So, absolutely. I really like this conversation kasi sawang-sawa na ako na, we need something like Norway, like Singapore, like New Zealand. Like, no, bro, hindi. It won't work, bro. It won't work. Right? Like, we're like that kind of a gritty football team that needs a coach na hindi lang matalino sa analytics, pero yung kailangan niya magbardagulan to get the team going, right? This is not like, I feeling our ideas of leadership are very, very narrow. We don't need another Obama. I think the Obama era is over. Yeah.
Pero alam mo, Richard, I just have to add to that, kasi remember that Norway and Singapore are very, very small countries, easier to manage. That's why a lot of Nordic countries are very successful because they're very easy to manage. They're very small countries, or basically their population is the size of only like certain states
Mandaluyong.
in the US. Or sure, even a city, right, in the Philippines. Yan ang size ng buong bansa nila. So, parang nagpapatakbo ka lang talaga ng isang lungsod compared sa isang bansa. Kaya hindi mo talaga mako-compare yun. That's like comparing apples to oranges. When you're trying to manage a massive population like the Philippines, wow, it creates a lot of different problems. And that's how you need somebody who can unify people and inspire people to be able to act for the betterment of everyone.
Absolutely. On that very encouraging note, I think we kind of agree. Like, again, I'm not saying we need another Digong na sabog. Ayaw natin ng bangag, ayaw natin ng alam mo naman, yung hindi na alam yung basics. No, we want the president who may be mediocre even from a certain standard point, but has the courage, has the heart in the right place, can inspire the right people, get good advice. Kaya sabi ko, for me, like Ronald Llamas is probably the smartest political affairs secretaries we have seen in our era. And hindi siya graduate at all, right? Like, so like that's my point. Like I love the guy and he has made that the badge of honor. And there's so many leaders. Lula in Brazil. He's not even a high school graduate. Forget about college. And I think is the best president Brazil has had. Maybe people don't agree with me because I'm too leftist for them. But I can give many examples of these people who don't have the usual squeaky clean qualifications, but they did so much more for their country than a lot of these people. Having said that, I don't want clowns. I don't want yung siya pa yung galit. You tell me anong batas na ilalagay. No. That's not what I mean. Remember, Pinoy was not like that. I mean, he had the minimum intelligence and all. Ibang usapan yung clowns. So that's what, no to clowns, but we also don't need like genius level. We need like a level-headed, courageous leader, relatable leader, and most importantly, brave leader to get things going. Salamat bro for your inspiring conversation because you're a man in the ring. I mean, hindi ito like this is not just a paklit lang tayong dalawa. You're a man in the ring, so when you talk with an authority. Mabuhay ka brother, and looking forward to catching up in person. Tuloy natin itong mga conversation natin, and congratulations on your campaign. Is there anything you want to add on your campaign? For, may website ka na? For volunteers and all?
Ay, pare, you need to teach me pala how to do that,
Ayan.
That thing you were telling me. Yeah,
Yeah,
I need
Substack. It's just like blog lang. It's just a basic, sayang, sobrang
Sige,
dali.
sige.
I'll send you a link. Yeah, it's just Substack. Sayang, bro. I'm sure many would love to help you and be part of whatever you're doing in these elections and beyond. Because, ako kasi sabi ko, kilusan ang kailangan natin. We need a movement. It's not about you
Yeah.
winning office, me winning office. It's about us putting something together eventually and pushing things in the right direction. And only then I think the Philippines really can fully fulfill its potential. Otherwise, wala. It's gonna be away lang ng usual dynasties and usual suspects. On that note, thank you very much, brother. And hopefully by the next time we have a conversation, Harry Roque is completely within our area of responsibility so we can have a more direct analysis of the situation. Very nice, very nice. Beautiful, beautiful. Talk to you soon,
All
brother.
right.
Salamat. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I hope guys in-appreciating discussion natin yan. Nakaka-inspiring kausap si Chris. Kasi yun nga, sabi ko, honestly, a part of me realized, wala na, hindi na, we don't need leaders na parang Obama. Kasi, I mean, I love Obama. I came of age when Obama ran for presidency. For a long time, yun yung idea ko ng ideal president. Nung parang, dapat ganyan. Pero ako, na-realize ko ngayon, talaga best leaders are leaders who may not necessarily have that kind of squeaky clean, blue chip CV. But these are people na matapang, maayos, may common sense, matalino, agile, nimble, and wala sa edad yan. It could be someone in the 60s like Ronald. It could be someone in the 20s or 30s like Vico Soto, right? It's about the character, right? And character is very important. But of course, there should be a minimum intelligence and qualification. Kaya ayaw rin natin ng clown game. So on that note, thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon, guys. Maraming salamat. And please don't forget to be a member dito sa YouTube natin. Kanina nag-post na tayo. I hope it's okay with you guys. Nagpapasalamat tayo sa mga members natin. 30 members na tayo. Of course, 970 to go. Our hope is we'll have around 1,000 members at least out of almost 1 million followers we have online. So kahit 1,000 lang part of YouTube community natin, we'll be more than happy. At the price of a pickup coffee or something, you can be a monthly supporter of the little movement we have here. And doon sa mga trolls na naman, natatawa talaga ako sa trolls. Minsan sabi, Richard, you're not relevant. And then pag napos, Richard, laos ka na ba? Bakit kailangan ng membership? Well, alam mo, get a life, alright? Get a life. Because kami, we're doing our best here. We're working very hard. It's almost Saturday. It's just over an hour before Sabbath day. So I wish you guys a blessed Sabbath day with your family, loved ones, and please continue to support us. And next week, in-person meetings, conversations with our good friends, including with Secretary Ronald Llamas and a couple of other interesting guests. Marami tayong pag-usapan. Go lang tayo. And we hope also to have a couple of people, including a cabinet minister, arguably the smartest guy inside the cabinet of the the Aquino administration, who happened also to work during the Aquino administration. So hindi lang matalinong tao, mabuting tao rin to. Maraming salamat. God bless and